All right, welcome back. It's been a little while, but we're back at the LWG live chat, and this time we've got a full house. So I'm Jared. I'm here with Nate, Ross, John, and Mike. What up?
Hey.
Hello.
So we are excited because it's been a little while since we had our last live stream, and a lot of content has come out for Age of Sigmar and 40K, but 40K. That's just for funsies right now. We're talking about the real stuff, and that's Age of Sigmar. And what has come out since last we were here? It was Fyreslayers and Slaanesh. So obviously, as you can see from, we have decided that the only people allowed on the actual live video are people with beards, because tonight we're talking about the Fyreslayers. We blocked everybody else because they don't have beards.
Oh, nobody can see me.
So I guess for those of you that aren't familiar with us and what we do, basically we like to give a well-rounded approach to Age of Sigmar, and we're going to do a breakdown of the Fyreslayer book. So we're going to do a pretty in-depth review, go through all the stuff, and we're also going to be, as we go through, breaking down from a tactical and strategic standpoint on the Fyreslayer book, and also giving feedback from other armies' perspectives, from other players, how they would deal with it, how these things would affect them, all the while appealing to new players and veteran players along the way. So we try to hit it all. So we're gonna kick this off, and Mike is our resident Fyreslayer player, and he's been hitting the tables lately and kicking our butts. So why don't we just jump into the book, Mike? And I guess when Nate did the fleshier records, he jumped into the fluff a little bit. I don't know how interested you are in that, but we could start there and move into some of the units and stuff. So take it away.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in the fluff because I'd rather keep playing. And I've been, for those of you who have not been to the club to play us, I've been painting up a crazy amount of Fyreslayers lately. I got 70 Volkites painted, 30 Hearthguard, a couple Magma draws, 20 Auric Hearthguard. So it's been a little bit busy, haven't had much time to read. But I will say, Kevin Chin, if you don't know who he is, with GW, did an absolutely amazing job with the artwork in here. Tons of new fluff and artwork that way, just helping flesh them out, get a little bit more into the life of the lodge. So it's been really interesting. From the first half of the book, like Jared said, it's a pretty small book. I think we've only got about 35 pages of fluff, and that's it. And then the rest is a couple pictures, really good painting guides, and then the meat of the book is the last 30 pages. So it's only 88 pages, pretty small battle tome.
And this has been I think it's been a really cool upgrade from the previous one, where, you know, the Naked Fire Babies have been around for a while, but they haven't really been around. Like, nobody was really playing them other than just like a giant horde. I feel like a lot of people don't even know what their units are, what their fluff really is. They're like one of these, dare I say, an underground faction. So,
Oh no!
When you look at them and you're like, all the units are the same. It's just
Yes.
a dwarf with an axe. Like I don't understand what the hell the difference is between a berserker and a Hearthguard. Like the same freaking thing. Right?
Yeah, well, all the names are almost the same too, right? We got Volkite Berserkers, Hearthguard Berserkers, and Auric Hearthguard. Those are your three units. all share at least one word, right? So, yeah, so I mean, it is you know, they did help flesh it out a little bit. They gave a lot more painting guides on a lot of the kind of smaller lodges as well to help flesh them out. We do have lodge rules now, which is awesome. They really help fill in a lot of the gaps that Fyreslayers had. So all right, do you guys want to go? We can start with some of the Legion's abilities and
let's do it.
So Legion's abilities haven't really changed much from the Jano's handbook. You still have 6 runes that you can choose from. You don't have to choose one, which is if you want to save one turn.
Why don't you break it down a little, the runes? Why don't you break those down a little bit? Because I'm not, listen, until the new book came out, I didn't even know what those did.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Okay.
So you have 6 runes to choose from, and essentially what you do is you roll a die on a 1 to 5. You just have the normal effect, and then they have a enhanced effect if you roll a 6. All right, so the first one's a Rune of Theory, which allows you to reroll hit rolls of 1 for all Fyreslayers units. So that's both in melee and shooting, so it helps out your whole army.
These are 1 use per game.
1 use per game, yeah. So once you use it, it's done.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah,
I think
tactics.
Actually, I think we have to find it because I don't use it. But there's one. It's either a command trait, I believe, that allows you to actually reuse one of them, so you could use 1 twice per game. So the enhanced effect of that one's add 1 to the attack characteristic. So if you get that 6, it's really brutal since all of your troops have a base 2 attacks anyway. So it's pretty good. You'd be rerolling all hit rolls of 1 as well. The Rune of Searing Heat. So that's if an unmodified wound roll for an attack by a Fyreslayer unit is a 6, then you add 1 to the damage characteristic for that attack. So you can,
Ouch.
if you need a little bit of extra damage, most units are damage 1. If you were to use that with broadaxes on Hearthguard Berserkers, you'd be damage 3, so it'd be really good. Rend -1, 3.
So this is 1 turn you would pick, and I assume this is at the beginning of the turn, or is it in your
Yeah, it all happens at the beginning of the hero phase.
So yeah, you could like line that up. So 1 turn, you're just like, bam, all my guys are +1 damage. And
Well, +1 damage on wound rolls the 6, so you only a couple to get through. But
okay, but still like that, and that does that carry over until your next hero phase?
Yes. So if you get double turned, they can. If you have, for instance, if you're able to get Rune of Theory off on the enhanced effect, and you get double turned, you guys are rerolling hit rolls of 1 with +1 attack for 2 turns. Essentially, it's pretty.
That's
good.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then the Rune of Searing Heat, the enhanced effect is roll a die for each enemy unit within 3 inches of a Fyreslayer unit. On a 2+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. So a little bit extra damage if you're in combat. That's when you'd really want to push that one off. It's probably mid-game you want to burn that rune. Rune of Awakened Steel, improve the Rend characteristics of melee weapons by 1. So this is really good with Volkite Berserkers with the double hand axes because they get to reroll hit rolls. So then your 3s rerolling everything, 3's the wound at -1 for 1 damage. Your picks then become Rend 2. Your broad axes are then Rend 2, 2 damage. And your pole axes on your Hearthguard are then becoming 1 Rend as well. The enhanced effect is really freaking awesome. It makes everything Rend, an additional Rend is that as well. So I actually got that off against Nate on Saturday. So my Volkites were hitting his goals at Rend 3 and just walking.
Wow.
So it was
I mean, ghouls only have a 6-up armor, so it didn't make that big of a difference. But
still, that's awesome.
It helped with the with my pole axes, giving them Rend 1 and then also the damage that they did.
I just imagine that going off against a block of like 20 sequitors, or like right when you need it to, like it's over. You're just gonna go right through all of them.
Right. Okay. The Rune of Fire Determinations add 1 to bravery characteristics of Fyreslayer units, and the enhanced effect is your immune to battle shock. It used to be really good pre-lodge abilities. Now we have a lodge that we'll talk about. The one that a lot of people are using competitively. You really won't see this rune being used much. The Rune of Relentless Zeal is add 2 inches to the move characteristic of friendly Fyreslayer units. Slight nerf compared to the handbook. That used to be a 4-inch additional move. However, if you're running the Vostarg Lodges we'll talk about, it makes up for it pretty well. So you actually can still have some really, really fast naked dwarves running around. And the enhanced effect is add 2 to charge rolls, which is actually really good when you consider some of the other additional ways you can get +1 to charge throughout the army. So Volkite Berserkers no longer, their horn no longer lets you reroll a single die in your charge. It just gives you a flat +1. And you can get a command ability from the Runefather on foot for an additional +1 to charge. There's a couple ways you can run and charge as well, so you can still be pretty quick. The Rune of Farsight is add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with throwing axes. This one's a complete change. It used to be pre-Battle Tomb. You actually got to double the range of your throwing axes, so they went from 8 inches to 16 inches, which really helped. Turn 1, just reach out and hit, especially when throwing axes used to be 4s and 4s, right? Now they're 5s and 5s. I think I had maybe one total wound get through on Nate the entire game. So
yeah,
But it's,
well,
still, it's still nice, yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
still
like
it's
change.
an extra one or
It's
two
change,
wound.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a change. The book really is more focused on melee now, which is good. Really, they buffed them where they really needed to be. And then the enhanced effect is that just add 1 to wound rolls for those throwing axes as well. So then they'd be, if you get the enhanced effects, they'd be back to their 4s and 4s essentially. Okay.
Are there any spellcasters in the army?
No spellcasters. You do have some relics that you can take. So there's one where you could unbind. I think it's a Rune Master Runesmiter can take it and gives them 2 unbinds per turn. Another way is there's a icon for the Battlesmith that allows you a single unbind, and if you're successful, then I believe it's on a 2+. Yeah, on a 2+, then the caster suffers a mortal wound. And then the one that a lot of people are running that I've ran as well, I think it's probably the better one out of them all, is it turns your Battlesmith, essentially gives him a 12-inch aura, which is the exact same as his other buff. Basically, any spell or endless spell that affects any unit within 12 inches, you just ignore that effect on a 4+. So I think it gives you a 50-50 chance to just completely ignore, which I think is a little bit more beneficial than an unbind, especially when you're going against like Nagash or something like that. He's got +3 and you're not going to unbind.
Or Skaven.
Yeah,
Skaven, yeah.
So
it's like Skaven, you have to actually roll that 4+. Like if you're going against the Vortex, you have to roll the 4+ every single time and effect hits one of those units. So it's not just a 4+ and it's done. It's every single time there's an effect, you roll the 4+.
But that's still super nice to have.
Yeah.
That's a temp. That's a big temp now.
Yeah.
So with in regards to the runes, so break it down from a strategic / tactical overview. When you're going into a game with this, do you have like a set plan of how you're going to use these runes, or you just do it on the fly, or how do you?
For me, it's mostly on the fly. I think pre-Battle Tomb, it was you're almost guaranteed to either use that 4-inch move or the double throwing axe range. Now, I think it really depends on your Lodge build. If you're running Vostarg, you could probably want to use the move to get you probably getting a turn 1 Alpha Strike. Hermdar, yeah, I think a lot of them, you're probably going to use that 2-inch move still first turn to get just still objectives. However, if you're going second, like when I was going against Nate, his Terrorgeist and Flares with Blisterkin were in my lines turn 1 anyway. So I just skipped that rune completely and went straight for, I think it was the Rune of Fury turn 1 I went for the reroll hit rolls of 1, and because I was trying to get that +1 attack as well. And then turn 2, I did the Rend to try to help weaken him out a little bit more and help thin the line. So it really just depends kind of how the game's going, who your opponent is, what the mission is, on what's going to be the best.
Okay, cool. All right. So what's next?
So next we go into command traits. I'm not going to sit here and read all of them because there's actually 2 tables now. So they have a table for Rune Fathers and Rune Sons that they share, which is, I think, just an exact copy and paste of what it was in the handbook. And we also gained another 6 that Rune Masters and Rune Smiters can take. Really not relevant unless you're running the Forge Brethren Battalion, in which case you need a Rune Master most likely as your general to make our Earth Guard battle line. And there's not any in there that are really that great anyway that I would really want to take. They did just FAQ, though, Blood of the Berserker, which your Rune Father and Rune Son can take. Initially, the wording was just that the hero's melee weapons you would get to... Essentially what it allows you to do is once per game in the combat phase, after you fought, if you're still within 3 inches of an enemy, you immediately get to pile in again and fight. So it's really good pre-handbook when you could have a Grimwrath Berserker as your leader, which he no longer has the ability to do, and you give it to him to fight 3 times in a combat phase. But they just FAQ'd it to where now it's also your mount gets that ability. So if you have a Rune Father on a Magmadroth, now him and Magmadroth get to fight twice immediately.
Okay.
Pretty good. But to get these, you also can't take a Lodge. So you kind of got to weigh that if you want to go Lodgeless or not.
Right. And that's pretty common with a lot of the books. Like Khorne, when we did the Khorne review, there's a lot of cool command traits, but then I'm like, well, I missed my Slaughter Host, and then I lose all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it depends on the list, though. So that's why I was wondering if there's anything in there that you would say this is a cool combo. It's something that you could see being tried, or you're just always going for the lodges.
Honestly, I think I'd always go for the lodges. You could make some decent lists, especially since, I mean, the relics are okay. They actually didn't give you terrible relics if you're locked into a lodge. Yeah, I don't think competitively you're going to see a list that's not running a lodge. It's just too good.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I think the one that stood out to me in the generics was the add 1 to charge rolls for all the Fyreslayers at Holy and 18.
Right.
That could combo. Yeah.
Yeah, if you take a Runefather on foot, he'd be given +1 to charge rolls for himself or for the aura. If you use his command ability, it's another +1, and then Volkite Berserkers get another +1. So, and then if you get the enhanced effect on your rune, then you got +5. So you could really easily stack up some pretty long charges.
Okay, and I thought the +1 damage to all the generals melee weapons one looked pretty tempting, but then I don't know, because I've been, like you said, you don't have. How are the heroes for the Fyreslayers? Are they guys that you really want to throw into the combat, or okay?
No. So like a Rune Sun has no Rend on his weapons. I think they're 3s now. No Rend. The Runefather got a little better. Hits on 3s and 3s, where it used to be 4s and 3s. He's pretty good at -1 for 3 damage. But again, with some of the relics that you get from the main lodges, I would still just stick one of those on him. There's not any really big command trader relic that I would want to go lodgeless for to take. Which again, if you're running a battalion, you get another artifact anyway, so you could give the lodge artifact to one of your support heroes and then pick another one. That said, most people are going to pick something for your battlesmiths or rune masters or rune smiters to block magic, because that's the biggest weakness in the army.
Yeah, I got to be real. The more these books come out, and the more I personally look into my list, whether it's Stormcast, Khorne, or now looking at the Fyreslayers with you, I am starting to get really disappointed with the structure of the new AOS 2 books, because they do all this work and they give you all these cool command traits, and honestly, no one's using them. Why would you give up a lot of these lodges or slaughter hosts or storm hosts? Because you get a whole free layer of rules for your whole army through that, and you get command traits. So it's like, yeah, I get what they're trying to do, like to do the give and take, the quid pro quo. Like this one's good, but this one's bad, and you're forced to take this thing. But really, I think they should start letting us choose. But like you could have your Stormhost one, or you could pick any of the ones from the book, because I don't even know why they're printing these pages at this point.
I think it helps balance it out, right? It gives you that cost benefit, right?
But it doesn't. That's what I'm trying to say. I get what they're trying to do with the cost benefit, but realistically speaking, have you ever seen anybody not take these things? Like maybe Stormcast, because the Stormhosts are horrendous. They're so bad. But all the other books, it's way more worth it to take the host than the...
I don't know. I mean, there's some kind of stealth builds that you can do with some of the Flesh Eater Court stuff, because that basically the one ability where you get to use Feeding Frenzy for free every single round is pretty tempting. So, I mean, and there's some things you could do. And then there's like ways to give your general +2 to cast. So you can have a Flesh Eater Court, Arch Regent that's casting on a +2. So I mean, there's definitely some room there, but yeah, I mean,
is it
most
better
of the
than
time,
Gristlegore?
I don't know, because I'm starting to wonder about Gristlegore, because my latest games with Gristlegore have been complete failures. But that could be more a reflection of me than it is of the army. I don't know. I just can't make that work.
Yeah, and when looking at like the Lodge or Stormhost and things like that, I think from a competitive standpoint, yeah, it makes absolute sense to use those abilities. If they wanted to tone it down, I would honestly say give you, like for instance, for Fyreslayers, give them the Lodge ability, force you into a relic, and the command trait, and then maybe get rid of the command ability, because the command ability is really freaking good for some of these. Especially since it's not even just your general that gets the command ability, it's any hero within the Lodge, for instance, with the Fyreslayers. So it does make it to where there's so many more benefits than it outweighs the cost of when you're comparing it to building your own and going lodgeless. But I think if you're going for a fun game, right? If you're going for a fun game, yeah, you don't need the best lodge possible. You could run either lodgeless, or you could run the Greyford Lodge, which is probably the weakest of the. Well, I'd say tied for weakest of the three. It definitely has some benefits there, and Lofnir's got some builds around it too that could be good. But we can get in those in a little bit.
Okay. So I guess then we don't even need to really go over the other command trees.
So those are the only two tables, really. Yeah, there's not a whole lot there. Like they're pretty standard. Like there's one that gives you additional D3 command points at the start if you have a Rune Master or Rune Smiter as your general, which again, very few people ever do. You can get 2 prayers from your blessings table, but they FAQ'd it to where you can still only cast 1, so it's still not. I guess it gives you some flexibility, but it's not the best. And like I said, the Rune Fathers and Rune Sons is copy and paste. From the Artifacts of Power, one of the big ones that really stands out for me is for Rune Fathers and Rune Sons, and I'm really trying to find a double battalion to fit this one in, is the Obsidian Glowhelm, which gives you an additional command point on 4+ every hero phase. So that one is freaking great if you're running, for instance, the Hermdar Lodge that lets you attack first with your command ability. So then you could have 2 units fighting first if you can stack up some CPs there. So that's a big one that I really like. What was the other one? The Drought of Magma Ale isn't bad if you're going to if you want to build your own kind of lodgeless list, you could run that, which once per battle at the start of the combat phase allows you to double your attack characteristics of melee weapons, and then you could stack that with Blood of the Berserker where you're fighting twice immediately. So you could have a Rune Father hitting 12 times at 3 up, -1, 3 damage. And if you stack the Rend rune on that as well, he's Rend 2.
Right.
3, so we could get through a lot of draft with that.
I mean, that sounds awesome. I think it also bears mentioning the Drake Slayer is hilariously fun. So
yeah, that's a big risk though.
sure. But if we're talking for the fun side of things.
Yeah, definitely. If you're going against a Gristleborn list or something that's going to run a lot of monsters, essentially what it allows you to do is once per game, for those of you that don't know, you give up your throwing axe for a turn, you pick a monster within 8 inches, and roll a die on a 6. That monster suffers 3d6 mortal wounds. That's pretty awesome if you can roll a 6.
Yeah, so it's like this giant fire naked dwarf has this giant axe and just chucks it at the closest monster, and on a 6, you just murder it. Like
I feel like it's like just pulling a ballista out of his backpack and then just shooting it. Yeah, well,
out of his loincloth. Yeah,
out of his loincloth. Yeah, woo.
He's got a howitzer under there.
That's a fun one though.
The next table is they actually gave Grimwrath Berserkers and Doomseekers their own artifacts. There's only 3 of them.
Okay.
Grimwrath and Doomseekers are not leaders, so you can actually not have them as your general anymore. But one of them, if you want to send your Grimwrath or Doomseeker in that case, but Doomseeker is more of a chaff killer, whereas the Grimwrath can go really kill chaff or elite units. Basically, if you're going to target a monster, any hit inflicts 2 hits instead. So the Grimwrath, who has 4 attacks, I believe it's -1, 2 damage. He's fighting twice at least in every combat phase, whether he gets to fight again through his one ability, or if he dies, he gets to fight as well. So you could really go monster hunting with him. Or if you feel like you don't have enough ways to stack +1 in this army, which there's a million ways to stack them.
I can see that working. That one where he hits, every hit counts as 2, because on the Berserker, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to understand it while we go through too, but he's a unit that you could sacrifice because he fights when he dies.
Right.
So like, I'm noticing in Khorne how effective this is in the meta, being able to fight when you're dead, especially with so many giant monsters, like you were saying, that just come in and murder things. If he's there, who cares if they take? He's gonna just unload on this Terrorgeist. He's gonna unload on that Bloodthirster, even if you kill him.
Back to the Terrorgeist. God,
It's a threat, man. It's the big skeleton in the room.
The Grimmir's pretty durable too. I mean, he's got 6 wounds, a 4-up save, a 6-up feel no pain. If he's within 3 inches of an enemy unit, he has a 5-up feel no pain. So if you stack that on him, or you can run the Bracers of Ember Iron, which gives him +1 to a save. So he's got a 3-up, 5-up in combat. It's pretty good. And then, so the way his abilities work is he always fights, and then if he's still alive, you can activate him again at the end of the combat phase to fight again. I believe it's on a 2+. And then if he dies, he also gets to fight. And if he dies, it can be from anything as long as he's within 3 inches. So if your opponent wants to hit him with spells to kill him, if they want to shoot at him in combat and kill him, as long as he's within 3 inches, he's piling in and fighting. So he's the
gotcha guy, and he's the one that affects more than just damage output. He's more than just killing. He affects the way you pick your units to attack, where you position, because when people know what he does, like I like that. I like that, especially for the threat against monsters now with this monster heavy meta that we're seeing. At least we're seeing it. Yeah, that's right, Nate.
I only bring one.
but I mean, there's a lot of them, and it's a thing out there. And to have him more than just doing damage, but messing with the opponent, I think is fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you don't kill him first, he's gonna fight at least twice every round. Even if you do kill him, he's still fighting once. So he's only 100 points. So pretty easy to fit into a list.
Well, I could even see it if he's stuck in with something, and you try to shoot him, and then he still piles in and attacks and kills one of your guys. Like that's hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. And the Doom Seeker got better as well. However, he has to take damage to do better. I can talk about him once we get to his War Scroll then.
Okay.
Because they made a lot of changes to the Doom Seeker. So the next is Rune Masters and Rune Smiters. They actually have 6 artifacts as well. They've got some basic ones like a 5-up Feel No Pain. They've got one that if you want to bring a lot of Maddening Invocations, they can actually attempt to summon 2 of them in a turn. So that means your priest can cast a prayer in the War Scroll, cast a blessing, and cast 2 invocations. So you can do a lot of support. Pretty nice if you want to build around that. There's the Ash Cloud Rune, which gives you 2 unbinds, which is good, but I mean, you also don't get to dispel with that, which is why I kind of like the Battlesmith ability better. You can add 1 invocation rolls. I don't think it's really necessary. I mean, all of the invocations go off on a 3+, so I don't think you needed to go off on a 2+. It's kind of a waste of an artifact.
Doesn't the Forge help with that in any way?
No, the Forge only helps with prayers, not invocations.
Oh, okay.
There is one, if you're going to run Lofnir as your lodge, which is the one that has a lot of magma dross, I'd run the Droth Helm, which allows you to reroll all hit rolls for the Claws and Horns attack, which is the kind of the base attack for the magma dross, for any magma dross within 6 inches. So basically pile up 3 or 4 magma dross in a big circle, charge them in, and let them all reroll hits and just walk through whatever's there. The last set of artifacts is for the Battlesmiths. These ones I kind of already talked about. The biggest one that a lot of people are taking is the Obsidian Icon. That's the one that allows you to just ignore spell effects on a 4+. You could take the Grimnir's Condemnation, which gives you an unbind and potential mortal wound damage back to the caster, but I think the Obsidian's a little better. If you're going to run 2 Battlesmiths, which they did not FAQ it, that the Battlesmiths ability actually does stack, I could see if you have the extra artifacts, you're running like a double battalion or no lodges. The Icon of Ancestors changes the +1 save. Currently is a 12-inch bubble. It increases it out to 18 inches, so you can get a really big area of effect to start stacking some +1 saves that way.
Nice.
Lastly, we got Magma Dross traits. These are awesome.
I'm jealous.
I
want Bloodthirster traits.
The last thing that needs a trait. All right. So the way these work is basically you get to have 1 hero with a Magma Dross trait for free. If you take a battalion, you can have another Magma Dross. take another one. If you have a double battalion, you have 2. It's 3 battalion, you get another trait. Another way to get around it is to run Lofnir, in which case every single Mammoth in your list gets a trait. And they're pretty good. I think the one that most people are taking is the Coalheart Ancient, which worsens Rend characteristics of melee weapons by 1.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful.
Is their save they have a 4-up save. Okay.
4-up save, 14 wounds, so it really helps. Especially since they don't have any feel no pain of any kind. There's another one you can reroll save rolls of 1. It's the Ashhorn Ancient for all friendly Mammoths within 6 inches. So if you're running Lofnir and you want to give a nice little save bubble, that can help. But again, I'd probably just run the Runic Firewall, which gives you a reroll save roll 1 within 12 inches of that anyway. So it's a little redundant. The one that I really, really, really like and want to try out is running a bunch of Rune Suns with the Flame Scale Youngblood, which after you charge, you pick one enemy unit within 1 inch and roll a number of dice equal to your charge roll. And for each 6, that's a mortal wound. And there's nothing that stops you from doubling up these traits. So you can have 2 Rune Suns, which give each other free rerolls to hit already. Let them both charge in. Their command ability allows you to do d6 mortal wounds on a 2+ on top of this mount trait. They can do a lot of mortal wounds, and then anything that left is probably going to die at that point. So that's a pretty good one. One I used against Nate on Saturday was actually the Lava Tongue, which when you do the Roaring Fire Stream, which is a 12-inch D3 mortal wound shooting attack, essentially, you have to roll equal to or less than the number of models in the enemy unit. This allows you to subtract 1 from that roll, and if you're wholly within your territory within 6 inches of objective, you get to roll. You subtract 2 from that roll, so it allows you to hit characters and things like that then on a 3 or less, which is
that's handy.
Yeah, I really like it. So those are the big ones that I really like. The other ones are kind of one affects Lashing Tails, which has nothing to combat phase, so it's a little less likely to go off. And then one can give you additional Rend from modified wound rules for your mountain attacks.
Cool. Yeah, those are really handy. I'm super jealous of those.
Yeah.
Because again, this is a layer of rules that you're picking for like your mounts that. Not all the books are getting that. Like Goblins don't have that. Stormcast have some, but they're kind of crap. Yeah. But the Khorne doesn't have it at all. Still might not have it at all. We don't. It's kind of nice that you have that.
And I also think it's what makes Magma Draws actually viable now. Before the book, you never saw them. They didn't have any durability. They really didn't put much damage output out there. These you can do either way. You can either worsen the Rend or roll save rolls of 1. You can get that durability, or you can get that extra damage output, and it kind of helps offset with the points increase that they got as well. So, all right, we have prayers. I think there's really 2 prayers that are the automatic go-to. Most people are only going to run probably 2 priests in their list, maybe 3.
So how do these prayers work? Because are they?
They're actually prayers, but they're technically called Zargon Blessings. They happen at the start of your combat phase or hero phase, and each one has their own value to go off. All of them go off on a 3+, except for one of them goes on a 4+. And when we get to the Magmic Battleforge, we can talk about how that interacts with it as well. So basically, the 2 biggest ones is the Prayer of Ash, which essentially a priest can pray, and on a 4+, pick a friendly unit, hold within 18 inches, and add 1 to save rolls. So it's one immediate go-to for durability. Everyone's going to run that. And then another one. Sorry, go.
I picked that because Khorne has the Slaughter Priests have that exact same prayer. So I use it every game. It's amazing.
Yeah, and with them getting an additional wound on all your base battle line infantry, stacking this plus a Battlesmith on top of Hearthguard Berserkers, for instance, which are the big kind of go-to unit right now. They're going to be base 3 save with a 4-up feel no pain if they're within 10 inches of a hero. They're pretty durable, so it's pretty nice. It's a go-to.
And by pretty durable, he means the best infantry in the whole game. So
Searing Heat's the next best one in my mind. That allows you on a 3+, pick an enemy unit within 18, so not wholly within, They get to subtract 1 from hit rolls for all attacks. So that's pretty good. I got that on Nate's Flayers, which he did not like them hitting on 5s. But that, plus if you're running Hermdar, which gives a bubble of -1 to wound rolls, it makes it pretty good. If you're -1 to hit, -1 to
wow.
wound.
Yeah.
Your big Death Star of Hearthguard Berserkers running around. There's one that can ignore you having to get rid of your Magma Invocation at the end of turn. You don't have to roll for it. I don't think that one's very useful. Ember Storm is probably the next best one in my mind, which allows you to pick a unit of Volkite Berserkers or Hearthguard Berserkers within 18, and they get to run and charge.
Oh.
So if you're running, the problem though with that is you can easily get outside your bubbles, right? So your support heroes can't keep up. If you're running Vostar Lodge, you don't need it because you're already going to auto run 6, and you have a bubble from your general to run and charge. So it has an ability. It's a nice to have in some lists, but it's not kind of necessary, I don't think, to have.
Well, now this may help or not, but I have let's just put it this way: Khorne and Fyreslayers are very similar in a lot of ways, and
interesting.
There, with the new Khorne stuff, there's something. I did the review. I played a few games, and there's some new stuff that's coming to light for me because we have the ability to. We can use a command point, pick one squad of Blood Warriors or Blood Reavers. They get to advance and charge, and they automatically advance 6 when they do it. So you can whip them. You can basically have a 20, I think it's a 20-inch range on a Blood Warrior squad that they're almost guaranteed to just charge 20. Now, the other similarity is Blood Warriors, when they die, get to pile in and fight. And just like Volkite Berserkers get to do that, right, too?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the interesting things is like knowing that you can chuck that unit out there, even though they're going to be away from the support heroes. I have that same problem too. You know, they're going to go out there, they're going to hit first, and then they're going to get hit back. And honestly, part of it is like, I want you to kill them so that they can attack again right away. And really just you can even have a small unit of it. Like I'm thinking 5-man Blood Warrior squads can just be chucked out. Put a dent in especially a big unit, and I get a blood tithe point out of it. It seems like it's kind of similar with the Volkites. I was thinking.
Yeah, but I think you get to fight every single round, right? When you die.
Yeah.
Volkites you have to choose, and it's only once per battle or once per game. So, yeah, like against Nate when he charged my Volkite Berserkers with his Terror Guys, it was obvious I'm going to burn that ability.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, it really just kind of depends.
But it could be a nice tool to get you downfield and know that you're going to double attack something,
right.
even with a small
grab an
squad.
objective or kill support hero. Yep, definitely. The other 2 prayers, one allows actually any hero, or you get to pick a hero essentially within 12 inches. That's not on Magmadroth, and they can immediately pile in and fight in your hero phase.
Oh,
so again, if you've got a buffed up Rune Father that's, got the that one. Which one was it? Oh no, that's a once per battle ability anyway, so you wouldn't use it. But really, I think you'd probably use it on like a Grimwrath Berserker. Let him fight in the hero phase. Let him fight in the combat phase once, if not twice.
Now you said are Grimwrath's heroes, but they're not leaders. Is that what
heroes, but not leaders? Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the last one is Gilded Claws. This is one you're going to want to take if you're running a Lofnir with a bunch of Magmadroths, and you get to pick them basically Magmadroth unit within 12 inches, and they get to reroll wound rolls. So you could combine that along with the Droth Helm, and you're giving all Magmadroths within 6 inches reroll hit rolls from the Droth Helm, and then another one gets to reroll all wound rolls. Pretty good. So. All right, that's it for the Zargrim Blessings, which, if nobody knows what Zargrim for, that's a little throwback to Chaos Dwarves.
Oh.
Huh.
So next is the Magmic Battle Forge, which is our little terrain piece that everyone likes to call the pizza oven.
The pizza oven, that's what I was going to say.
Pizza the Hut.
Let's just ignore that the FAQ came out today because they ruined it. So essentially what it did, if you're looking at the book, is at the start of your hero phase, if there's a priest within 6 inches of it, well, actually, let's just start with how you set it up. It's different than pretty much any terrain feature, I believe. It actually gets set up at the end of deployment after all units are placed. wholly within your territory within 6 inches of a priest. So you actually have to plan out a little bit for it and leave room. But the good thing is you can put it in front of your lines then if you have a priest up forward. Use it as blocking, but then it also gives you essentially a 12-inch or more than 12-inch diameter because of the size of the model, kind of ring in which you can have your priest kind of circle that in the middle of the board and give out their buffs and reach a majority of the board. So that's how you set it up. And the reason, if you listen to Ben Johnson talk on Warhammer Community, was they had it set up that way just because of fluff reasons, right? It didn't make sense for a forge already to be on the battlefield before the battle. It gets raised out of the ground by the priest by a blessing once they're there. Which, again, I would have rather had like a giant pile of Urgold or something like that they're fighting over to protect, but it's still a cool terrain piece.
And you can put LEDs in it. It's like the greatest turn. Cool. I've seen a couple people do conversions. It's probably the best thing. Yeah. They have it like the little fire LEDs. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. In the eyes and in the mouth. It's fantastic.
Cool. So what it's supposed to do is at the start of your hero phase, a priest within 6 inches can essentially turn the forge on, and you get to add one to your prayer rolls. So most of your prayers are then going off on 2s, which is a really nice benefit. They did just FAQ it, and nobody knows why. That instead of at the start of your hero phase, it says just during your hero phase. All the prayers go off at the start of your hero phase, which means prayers goes off now before you interact with the terrain. So hopefully that's a quick fix that they realized that a big typo. But so yeah, that's the main ability. Late game is probably when I'd use the second ability, which essentially allows you to burn out the forge. And what it does is it gives you an army wide, no matter where you're on the board, there's no range on it. Reroll save rolls of 1. So it gives your whole army Mystic Shield for a turn.
Wow.
But then you can no longer get the buff to your prayer rolls. So I see this more like a turn 3, turn 4. Maybe you got double turned. You're kind of just hanging on. You really need one last push to try pulling out the win. And you need a unit to stay on an objective. You burn that. Try to keep around and pull out the win.
And is this something that all the priests benefit from, or is it just the one?
Yep. All the priests. So the priests in the army are just Rune Masters and Rune Smiters. So you got 2 priest options. And of course, the Rune Smiter can be on foot, or Magma Droth Rune Masters only on foot.
Unless it's not turned on, then it doesn't work.
Right. If it's not turned on, it just sits there.
So maybe the reason they FAQ'd it is so you can't have it on turn if you go second on turn 1. I'm thinking that's why they did it.
But no, because it works until your next hero phase. So it's not like it turns on and stays on. So because of the order of operations, you have to turn it on every single hero phase. In which case, if it's at the start of your hero phase,
it doesn't make any sense. I was just throwing out a guess. I was thinking maybe they didn't want to have it on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they meant.
Maybe they're referencing the part where you burn it out. You can do at any time during your hero phase.
No, because it says change the first sentence of the Molten Blessing ability, which is the one that gives you +1 prayer. Spending the Forge is the one that burns it out.
Huh.
So yeah, because you get the +1 to your prayer rolls until the end of that phase. So it makes no sense. It doesn't carry over to the next phase. So. Big typo. Hopefully they fix that.
Maybe. It's kind of like when your book gets artifacts that are worse than the ones from Malign Sorcery.
Well.
You're like, thanks, G-Dubs.
All right, now we're into the fun stuff. We're into the lodges. All right, so this is the really big.
Can we go over the endless spells first?
Yeah,
they don't have endless spells.
Well, whatever they are.
We've got invocation.
Endless pizza.
He's come off.
Endless grudges.
Yeah. So let me go to the back of the book. All right. So yeah, we've got 3 invocations. The first one is the Zargron Flamespitter, which I really like. It's 60 points. On a 3+, you get it set up within 6 inches of a priest, and then at the start of the shooting phase, there's a friendly Fyreslayers priest within 6 inches. You basically have to make a shooting attack to enemy within 24. You don't need line of sight, which is really nice. What you do is you roll 12 dice, add 1 to the roll if there's more than 10 models, add 2 if there's more than 20, and on a 6+, they take a mortal wound. So it's good for potentially sniping heroes, but it's really good against hordes. I think I used it against 8 and killed like 7 goals in 1 shot. So
It's like a better Quicksilver swords.
Yeah. Yeah, 25 range, no line of sight. You can put it behind your magnet and your firewall to protect your priest and just shoot away. And,
so is that the monster one, or is that the one that looks like the lava
fireball?
Okay.
So does the oven affect that roll, or
no? Because these are invocation rolls. Yep,
Gotcha.
specifically says invocation rolls. So, which you can take the one relic if you wanted to. Is it a relic or command trait? I think it's a command. No, it's a relic. Yeah, you can take a relic for your Remaster and Smiter to add +1 to that if you wanted to. But on a 3+, it's already most likely going off.
And don't they have something else you can do? You could summon 2 of these with 1 priest.
Yeah, that's another artifact as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you can do a prayer where on a 3+, you don't then have to roll to see if this goes away. So the way these work is on a 1 to 3 at the end of the turn, they go away. On a 4+, they disappear. Or sorry, on a 4+, they stay. However, if there's a priest within 6 inches of it, then you get to add 1 to your roll. So it only goes away then on a 1 or 2.
So it's just better than court. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what you get for having Squarebrand demolish on our team.
I suppose. Although I from the looks of it, it makes sense for the corn ones to be a little harder to keep around because I think overall they're better.
They do a lot more damage. The negative, the reducing of is it the skulls that?
The skulls are amazing.
Prayers.
Yeah.
Or not prayers, spells.
It's -2 to cast. That's crazy. So like, yeah, I get why the corn ones are harder. I'm lamenting. The good guys always get all the good stuff.
Of course. The Runic Firewall is probably the go-to one for me. It's only 40 points. It's essentially the same size as the Prismatic Palisades. Does a similar thing. It blocks line of sight for anything within drawing line of sight within an inch of it. So you can actually have your priest technically right next to it within line of sight of a shooting target, but you'd still be drawn within an inch of them. So it's really good for that ability. And then, of course, it's a pretty big movement blocker. And it also gives a wholly within 12-inch bubble of Mystic Shield. Like against Nate, I casted that right in front of my lines, then had my Battlesmith hitting almost my entire army with +1 save. I had my Hearthguard getting Prayer of Ash for another +1 save. And then I burned my Rune Smiter on Magmadroth once per game ability for another bubble of +1 save. So pretty much my whole army had a 2-up reroll 1
reroll like once
for the first battle.
That was obnoxious.
It was fun.
And then there's just a wall of spells in front of your army. It's like nothing could get through.
Yeah, I had that right next to the Battle Forge as well. So it was probably
and I think I made it worse because I threw the chalice in there too.
Yep.
The chalice is sitting right next to it, and I can't move through my own chalice.
Yeah. There's probably about 12 inches of just our stuff blocking it up.
Yeah.
Does the wall move?
No, it does not move.
Okay.
It's just you set it up and it's there. One thing that's cool about it though is that Magmadroths can pass through it as if they can fly. So you can block line of sight to Magmadroths, but then they can still move and charge through it. Your infantry can't, but especially in any list it's good. But if you're running any Magmadroths, it's really good to help keep them alive for a turn from any shooting attacks as well. And then the last one's the Molten Infernoth, which by far from a model perspective is the coolest looking one. It's the giant just beast coming out.
Yeah.
It's actually on a pretty big base. It's on the 120 millimeter oval. It's the same one that the Magmadroth is on. You got to set it up wholly within 12 inches of a priest, and then it gets to move 2d6 inches. So it can potentially get out pretty far as soon as you cast it. This one, what it does is very similar ability as the Flamespitter that you get to roll 12 dice on a 6. It does a mortal wound. This one, though, is for any enemy within 3 inches. So you have to get it in close, but then it can affect multiple units at once. And then it also gives you +1 bravery to any Fyreslayer unit wholly within 18. So that really helps because they're already bravery 7. There's a couple units like Hearthguard that are bravery 8. So it really helps keep them around. Or things like Flayers that want to shoot them. They're bravery 9, then makes it pretty reliable that you're not going to take a lot of mortal wounds. So
Cool.
All right. So that's the Magma Invocations. And then back to the lodges. So Vostarg is the one that I think caught everyone's attention first. It's the one that they, I think, first showed off in a lot of their leaks. What it allows you to do is basically your just ability that everyone gets is add 1 to charge rolls for all Vostarg units. And in addition, in the first battle round, all units get to auto run 6 inches. So you're moving 10-inch base. Your magma drops are moving 18 inches if they're running, which you wouldn't want to do because then they kind of get out on their own. But then you pair that up with the rune for additional +2 to their movement. They're moving 12 inches, getting in the middle of the board, turn 1.
And there's a prayer that they can advance and charge, right?
There is, but you don't even need that for this because your command trait is friendly units wholly within 12 inches get to run and charge.
Whoa. Well, there you go. Well, there you go. Okay. So this is the super fast fire dwarf.
The super fast naked dwarf. and their command ability is really good too. You get to pick a Volkite Berserker, Hearthguard Berserker unit within 12 inches, and they get +1 to the hit rolls. So hit on 2s. It's pretty good.
And is this the default lodge, like the orange ones that we see in all the paint? They're like the hammers of Sigmar.
Those are just the base one that you usually see a lot of the paint schemes for.
Okay.
Orange hair, red and black paint scheme for the cloth and leather and stuff like that. Vostarg Lodge is actually the lodge that just won GT first week of release, but it's not the one that many people are running. A lot of people are going to run Hermdar. That's the one I'm most partial towards. At first, I wanted to run Vostarg until you start to see kind of the buffs that Hermdar gives you.
That's one though, and this is something that the Slaanesh and I think Flesh Eater courts too are experiencing is when you don't know, especially a new book and an unknown faction like this underground faction like the Fyreslayers. When you don't know what they do, that speed just catches you off guard so fast that you can't react to it.
Right. And
I think that's why they're winning. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy one was also running the 30-man Hearthguard Death Star and just turn 1, charge them across the field, and they eliminate any unit they touch. Except with Lord of the Lodge, they're fighting twice then. So yeah. And then the relic for that is pick 1 of the bear's melee weapons, improve the rank characteristics by 1, and then in addition, unmodified hit rolls of 6 add 1 to the damage characteristic. So if you put that on the Rune Father, he's then got 3 attacks, 3s and 3s at -2 Rend, 3 damage with unmodified hit rolls of 6 doing 4 damage. Pretty good. So
Nice.
Greyfear is an interesting lodge. This one, your ability, you get 2 additional heroes get to have artifacts of power, so you don't need to take battalions then for extra relics. That's really the main benefit. The command ability really would work if you want to run like a Grimwrath Death Star. Essentially, after a Greyfeared hero fights, any heroes that are not on a magma drop within 3 inches can immediately fight. So if you want to run, a magma droth or whatever hero you want, and surrounded by Grimwraths, charge them into anything, let them all fight back to back, and wipe out a unit. And the command traits add 1 to the cat characteristics if of all melee weapons if there's more than 5 enemy models within 3 inches. So I could see if you want to run like a Rune Father on magma droth, surrounded by a bunch of heroes and charge them in. We're doing a lot of damage. I think because then your artifact of power also gives you +2 wounds, and then you got a magma drop with 16 wounds. Pretty durable.
And so this is like the hero. It's
a hero lodge. Yep. Yeah. Which fits their fluff too. In the fluff, they're kind of an order lodge with tons of heroes that run around. So next is Hermdar. This is the one I like and tested out against Nate, and I forgot about half the rules when I was playing them. And it's probably what I'm going to be running next weekend at Spring Assault 1 play. So this one gives all of your units essentially immune to battle shock if you are wholly within enemy territory or wholly within zone objective. That's the ability I forgot that could have really helped. I think I lost 3 out of 5 Order Hearthguards turn 1 to battle shock. I think over the course of the game I lost 3 out of 10 Hearthguard Berserkers because of battle shock. And I think another 4 or 5 Volkite Berserkers to battle shock. So that's a really nice ability to have because then you're not wasting your CPs on Inspiring Presence, and you can actually use it on that command ability, which allows you to pick a Hearthguard Berserker or Volkite Berserker unit wholly within 12 inches of a hero, and they immediately get the fight at the start of the combat phase.
There it is, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, you stack that with Hearthguard Berserkers and Lord of the Lodge, they get the fight twice immediately, because Lord of the Lodge allows you to pick a unit to fight twice.
In all honesty, this is like meta right now. Being able to attack again is like the thing.
And the reason I really want to try to cut out 50 points on my list for run double battalion is then you got 2 units fighting first, and then the Lord of the Lodge unit is fighting a second time immediately. So if you're running 2 units of Hearthguard Berserkers, all within range of a hero, you're fighting with 3 units, essentially Hearthguard Berserkers for 2 CPs. Pretty good. The command trait's also freaking amazing. Gives you a 12-inch bubble for your units where subtract 1 from wound rolls. So Nate, for almost the entire game, was hitting at -1 wound. And then when you put the Prayer of Searing Heat on your best hitting unit for -1 to hit. So when he got locked into combat with my Hearthguard Berserkers, he was -1 to hit, -1 to wound. Makes an already extremely durable unit just impossible to get rid of. And then the relic is select a melee weapon and you get to reroll wound rolls that targets enemy heroes, and unmodified hit rolls targeting an enemy hero that's a 6 inflicts 1 more wound in addition. So pretty good for a little hero hunting with that. That's the Hermdar Lodge.
I like it.
It's a good one. I really like it. It's probably my favorite one. Lofnir, from a fluff perspective, is my absolute favorite. When I painted up my army, I really wanted to do the soot on the hands and feet to represent Lofnir, which I'm still debating adding that in. Just trying to get them all finished at this point, but I'll probably try to run Lofnir at least for some fun games. And in the lore, my list is actually technically counting as an offshoot as Lofnir.
Well, you don't have to, and this is, I guess, for anybody that's listening too. Like you don't have to have them painted the way the hosts are or the lodges are. You can, it's your army. You can paint it however you want.
Right. Lofnir's got red as a loincloth, Smyrl, a turquoise-ish color. It kind of really contrasts really well with the warm colors of the beard. Got bright, kind of fiery orange beards, whereas Lofnir's got striped red and black beards. But they're from Gur. They're their own beasts, so that's why in the lore, the reason they put soot on their hands and feet is that a test that each person has to go through is they have to basically cross a bunch of basically hot coals, essentially. And this is also the lodge with the most magma droth eggs. So that's why their ability allows, essentially, you get +1 behemoths to your list. So you get to run 5 behemoths, which is 5 magma droths. And every single magma droth in the list gets a mount trait, regardless of the number of battalions you have. So it can be really good if you want to run a ton of Rune Suns, which have a lot of synergy on magma droths together since they get the reroll hit rolls. They can be really devastating if you want to run a big monster mash list.
Yeah.
Problem though, if you're running 5 of them, you're running that's at least about 1,200 points in magma droths, and with the points increases in your battle line units, you're just not having a lot of bodies for objectives. The command ability here, I like if you want to run a lot of Auric Hearthguard. Essentially gives them, you pick an enemy within 12 inches, they get +1 hit and wound. So your Auric Hearthguard are then hitting on 3s and 2s at -1 for 1 damage and 2 damage against monsters, which can be really good, especially with the meta. Flesh Eater Court's doing really well. Slash is going to have some monsters running around with Keeper of Secrets, things like that.
And we'll go over the units then, but those are the ones that shoot? Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a buff. They got +3 to their range. The one nerf that I don't like, they used to get +1 to hit if the enemy unit was within 5 inches of a hero as a way to protect them. They got rid of that, so I guess it kind of makes up for it in the command ability, giving you +1 to hit and wound. But CPs are pretty precious. I'd rather spend that CP on something else. So I would have rather them just made Auric Hearthguards 3s and 3s and then got rid of this command ability and made it something that dealt with magma droths instead. That's kind of the one kind of aspect to this lodge for me. The command trait, you get to add 1 to charge rolls for friendly magma droths within 12 inches of the general. So if you already run 4 or 5 magma droths +1, And there's all those other abilities to get +1 as well. And then the relic gives you 6-up Feel No Pain, essentially. So pretty durable Magma Draw Thin with 14 wounds at a 4-up. All the way to stack saves on top of that and roll save rolls of 1. And then you give them a 6-up Feel No Pain and make them pretty durable. And that's everything outside of them just going through some war scrolls, which
yeah, why don't we go over the units since there's not that many of them, and then maybe hit like your top 2 or 3 battalions, and then we can move on to the ripping your army apart part.
Yeah, I'll hit the battalions just really fast. That's coming up right next. Lords of the Lodge is the go-to. It's a Rune Father, a Rune Master, a Battlesmith, wanting your Hearth card. Basically, the Hearth guard are wholly within 12 inches from any of the 3 heroes. They get to fight a second time in every combat phase. It's not immediately second, but however, when combined with Hermdar to fight first, they can fight twice back to back.
So and it's only 100. I just looked it up. It's only 140 points. So that's
140. So
yeah, that's not bad.
Went up 30 points. And they changed it. It used to be based on a model by model count. Thankfully, they changed it to where it's the whole unit is wholly within 12. The Warrior Kinband got another nerf, in my opinion. It's a Rune Sun and 3 units of Volkite Berserkers, which in and of itself isn't bad unit-wise to take. However, what this ability used to do was double throw your throwing axes, and then if you were within, I believe it was 3 inches of another Volkite unit, or maybe it was 5 inches of another Volkite unit, you got to pile in an additional D3. That was the old ability. What it does now is essentially get to use your Berserk Fury ability for only 1 of these Volkite Berserker units out of the 3, twice in the same battle, if they're wholly within 12 inches of the Rune Sun. That's it. So if you're running a big unit of 30 or 20 and you can keep your Rune Sun alive, it gives you a little bit of a buff. But compared to what you used to have, where if you were running the 16-inch throwing steel axes and you had somewhere between 30 and 90 Volkite Berserkers, double throwing axes. It's just, for 140 points, I don't think it's worth it to take.
I mean, I could see it if somebody was already running like a horde, where they're already going to take those units.
If it was,
why not?
All of the Berserker units got to use that ability twice, I would say absolutely it'd be worth it. But the fact that it's only 1 of the units gets to do it, meh. For 140 points, it's
a bit steep.
Compared to Lord of the Lodge, it's the same price, 140 points. And with Hearthguard being so much better than Volkites, which Volkites are good, but Hearthguard just overwhelmingly being that much better, I just don't see a point in taking the Kinband unless you really want to double battalion.
Yeah, or if you're, like I said, if you already have like your army, you want to have 3 squads of Volkites. It's like it's built for that, and if you're already thinking of running that, then it doesn't hurt to take it at that point, and then you get the artifact, you get the extra command point. So
yeah, I was going to say, like, I've been toying around with some of the lists for Flesh Eater Courts, and I'm taking the Royal Family Battalion not because I think that it's useful, but because it's one of the cheaper battalions. And if you're trying to run Gristlegore, you want to get that extra command point and that extra artifact. So you take that crappy battalion just because it gives you something. It gives you that opportunity, and then you get like a 4-drop list rather than the 7 or 8-drop list, and that makes a difference too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running Lords of the Lodge and Warrior Kinband, it's a 2-drop list. That's pretty much your whole army, essentially.
Yeah, that's something. I think. Yeah, it might not be in and of itself the most powerful, but there's more ways to skin a cat. So.
Yeah, and nobody really uses the Forge Brethren Battalion, but I've been dying just because I love my Aura Earth card. I think from a painting perspective, I think it's my favorite unit that I've painted so far. Essentially what this battalion is, it's 1 Rune Smiter, which you most likely want at least 1 in your list anyway, and it could be on foot or on Magma Draw, because you need the Priest. And then 3 units of Aura Earth card, so if you're running 3 units of 5, it's 360 for them. The battalion went up in points again, it's 160. What it used to do is you used to be able to pick a unit and get +1 to your save rolls, which it still is that. Except now it goes off actually in your enemy hero phase. So every enemy hero phase, you pick a unit wholly within 18 of any of the Aura Earth card units, and you get +1 to your save. So it's a way to just keep on stacking more +1s. But
that's only on the Hearthguard, right?
So the Auric Hearthguard shoot essentially them shooting their magma pites in front of one of your units and giving them +1 save. Then it goes off the enemy hero phase, which is kind of nice. It only lasts for their turn because it goes all it ends at the start of your next hero.
Yeah,
phase.
that's interesting because even if you go, that's a good counterattack thing because if you're going second against a lot of these fast things,
you're not getting anything off turn 1. Yeah.
Right. So this would help you survive turn 1. That's interesting. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. It's just that I don't want to spend 300 points in just battalion cost, but
right. It's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So
160 is a lot.
Yeah. 160 a lot. I think it should be 140 in line with the other ones. But it is what it is. So, and then there's a big mega battalion that nobody's going to run unless you're playing like a 3 or 4 game.
No, nobody has those, right? Yeah.
All right. So the heroes, the stats really haven't changed a whole lot from an attacking standpoint. The Rune Father got +1 to hit. His axe is now a 3 to hit. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything else that changed. Oh, I think the javelin for the Rune Sun flip-flopped. It used to be 3s and 4s if you're throwing. Now it's 4s and 3s, and then in combat it's 3s and 3s, where it used to be reversed. So the biggest thing that changed with the heroes on Magmadrost is their command abilities. So the Rune Father just gives a 18-inch immune to battle shock. Again, I'm never going to burn that if I'm running Hermdar because I'm already getting tons of battle shock immunity anyways. So it's just more CPs to then throw at fighting first. The Rune Sun, though, I really like his. He, on a 2+, gets to do D6 mortal wounds on the charge. So if you're running 2 Rune Suns, because they also got another ability that any Rune Suns within 6 inches of each other get to reroll hit rolls. So not only does he get to reroll hits, but then his Magmadroth also does as well. So you can really get a pretty hitty combo for 480 points for 2 of them. They can do a lot of damage. So,
right, because essentially it's like you have a ton of heroes here. This is where everybody always gets confused with Fyreslayers because we don't know what the heck you're talking about. But there's the Rune Father, there's the Rune Sun, and there's the Smiter.
The Rune Holy Spirit. Wait.
Yeah, all the runes.
Wait.
So there's the Smiter. That's good. So yeah, the Father, the Son, and the Smiter. So
Yeah.
But essentially, they're all riding the same Magmadroth, right? So the Magmadroths are all the same.
Magmadroth same stats. The only thing that would be different would be the mount traits if you want, and there's nothing stopping you from taking the same mount traits either.
So all the Magmadroth guys are 14 wounds, 4 up save, and they move 12.
Move 12 degrading. Yeah.
Okay, so they're really fast, and then they have different weapons, and one's a priest, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm starting to understand these guys now.
Yep. Yeah, and honestly, I like taking the Rune Smiter on Magmadroth the best, the priest, because he has his normal prayer, which is the same as if he's on foot. Essentially, you can pick a unit within 12 inches on a 3+, give them reroll wound rolls. But he also has a once per game ability where you get to add 1 to save rolls for attacks for units within 12 inches. So you got him and then a Battlesmith right next to him. You're giving anything within 12 inches of them +2 to their save rolls.
Okay.
Pretty good.
And I think it needs to be addressed too, that from my perspective, I think Magmadroths are terrifying. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Their speed, their wounds, their save are all fantastic. And then they have the volcanic blood, which is it's terrifying. I don't want to get anywhere near them. So it's anytime they suffer a wound on a 4+, you take a mortal wound back. So like if you kill a Magmadroth, it's basically just going to do 7 wounds back to you, no matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it's not for mortal wounds. So Nate and I realized that after our last game. So like when he charged in, the maul attacks would go right through. He wouldn't bleed back on him. If you're shooting him, you won't bleed back on him. The way it used to be worded was anytime he was wounded, units within 3 inches on a 4-up with the D3 mortals. So they changed it to where it can only bounce back to the same unit. So there's some.
That's good though, because it used to kill your own guys, right?
Yeah, it'd bleed on yourself. It would do damage to the magma draw. It was pretty.
That was bad. Yeah, it's better this way, but it's more from my perspective. This is the one part where I'm terrified of these things. If you have 2 of them standing next to each other, even if I have like a super killer unit that's going to take both of them out, I'm going to kill myself just to do like
and I mean, in points wise, I mean, if you just said what two Rune Suns on Magmadroth was 480.
Yeah, they're 240 apiece. The Rune Father's the priciest. He's 280, but he's also the biggest damage dealer with his 3 attacks at -1 for 3 damage. The Rune Sun's not, his War Axe, he's got 3 attacks, 3 up and 4 up, no Rend for D3. So you really need to pop like the -1 Rend rune to help him out a little bit. Or you can take the Wormslayer Javelin, which is a 12-inch range attack, which is -1 D3 and a 1 attack in combat. But they do D3 plus 2 damage against monsters. So I could really see taking 1 with the Javelin, 1 with the War Axe, and let them kind of combo with each other.
See, that's the part I'm loving about Fyreslayers is all of their units are like multi-fat. They all have a shooting attack, even if it's not the greatest in some cases. So it's like they're plinking away things before they really hit you.
Yeah,
they can pick out heroes. They can do all this kind of stuff that I'm really liking that.
They scare the crap out of my Night Haunt because it's just like, oh, here come the Fyreslayers, and here's a bunch of crappy shooting to all your 5-wound heroes, and on a 50-50 chance they're just going to die. I mean, because I can't roll 4-up saves for some reason. Like I just can't. So yeah, I mean, I remember the first time, but that was against the old Fyreslayers when they were a little bit more reliable with their shooting. But like I lost like most of my Night Haunt heroes to throwing axes, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Especially double throwing too. Yeah, I mean, that was the Volkite spam when you're running 90 Volkites. You can fit most of them within range. That's a lot.
It's a very unique, I think, facet to the whole Fyreslayer army that they're all shooty and they're choppy. Right. So like, now I guess outside of the one lodge, they're actually really slow. But in Magmadroths are fast. But yeah, I think it's stronger. It doesn't look that bad on paper, but in gameplay, it is annoying and it is, I think, very powerful. Yeah.
Yep. Next in the heroes is just Fulgral Grimnir and the Chosen Axes. That's the Shadespire unit. 200 points. Nobody's really going to run them.
Like most of the Shadespire units.
I mean, he's not bad, actually. He's got the same stats as the Rune Father. His command ability on foot's different. He actually gives you... So he has to be Vostar, so that's one thing. However, he can go in another lodge without breaking any of the lodge abilities. But his command ability gives other Vostar units wholly within 12 inches. He can pick a unit and give them... Actually, no, it's all units within 12 inches, +1 to hit. On top of the Vostar command ability, which is another 12-inch bubble of +1 to hit. So if you're going up against someone with a bunch of Geminids or things like that are stacking up a bunch of minuses,
that's awesome.
You can still have minus 2 up to hit them, even with a minus.
Yeah, but his adds 1 to hit on your throwing axes too.
His is all attacks. The Vostar is just melee. So yeah. Yep.
So with some of those other things, you could get like 3 to hit throwing axes. This is terrifying.
And he also gets a Feel No Pain if he's within 3 inches. Or sorry, a 5-up Feel No Pain if he's within 3 inches of the Chosen Axes, which is pretty nice. So those are 3 guys with 5-up save, 2 wounds, but they themselves do not have any Feel No Pain. So haven't tried them out yet. But I really like the model, so I actually run him as my base Rune Father, even though Josh was calling him just a run, unfortunately. I'll let him beat up on him later. So yeah, like I said, the Rune Father, his stats don't change between him and the Magmadroth for his base, latchkey Grand Axe attacks. His command ability changes to where he gets to add +1 to charge rolls for units within 12 inches. So if you're already running Vostarg, and you wanted to burn it, you could give everything run and charge with +2 to your charge with Volkite Berserkers and things like that. So get some pretty reliable turn 1 charges off. The Rune Sun, again, he's the same as the Magmadroth, but his command ability changes to actually another Holy Within 12-inch bubble of +1 to wound rolls. So you can pretty easily get some +1 hit, +1 wounds.
Man, they have that stuff everywhere. This is
yeah. That's when they said that they changed the war scrolls. They changed everything, and that was the biggest issue with pre-battle team Fyreslayers was the command abilities were just really wonky and useless. I only use them for Inspiring Presence. That was it. So yeah, I'm glad that we actually have some useful command abilities now. Although the lodge abilities kind of take precedence still.
Yeah.
The Battlesmith's still a go-to. He used to give reroll save rolls for units that start within 8 inches. Now it's just a 12-inch Holy Within +1 to save instead of reroll saves. He got a little bit beefier in combat too. If he ever does find himself there, he's got 3 attacks, 3 up 3 at -1 for 2 damage.
I'm noticing. See, I'm looking at the profiles. These are the infantry guys.
Yeah.
The father, the son, and they are like these guys are really tough, and they do a lot of damage for like infantry. Like Stormcast heroes are crappy next to these guys' damage output.
And that was their biggest issue. I mean, they were always really durable, but had no damage output. They cut back some of their durability in a way by getting rid of the Feel No Pains, but they did give them +1 wound, which actually kind of is actually statistically better than the Feel No Pain. And they gave them a ton of ways to stack +1. So not only the Rune more durable with the +1 saves, but they got the extra damage output.
The Rune Father's 3s and 3s -1 3 damage with a 3-inch range. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when he used to be 4s and 3s, and I think I had him maybe in probably a dozen games, maybe get 1 wound through. I mean, it was insane. That 3s and 3s really helps out.
Yeah, he's like the corn anvil guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The Rune Master saw a lot of changes. So he actually used to be able to hurt yourself. So you used to pick an enemy unit, give them Urgold. Actually, your opponent picked one of their units. They got to then reroll wound rolls of 1 against you. And then if your Rune Master ended within 10 inches, you got +1 attack against them. They got rid of that completely. Now it's you roll 2 dice for an enemy unit within 12 inches, and if you roll at least 1/6, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1. And if you roll 2 or more 6s, which implies that you can stack this over battle rounds, you get to reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. So that's really nice. You can no longer hurt yourself with that ability. And then the Volcano's Call, which John really hates. You get to pick a terrain feature and light it on fire, essentially. Against Sylvanet.
Take that, trees.
Well, but really, almost every army is going to have a terrain piece now. So, I mean, it just makes it go that much better.
Yeah, and they reduced the range by 2 inches. It used to be 20 inches. Now it's 18, which doesn't really matter. The biggest change, though, is that now you have to actually roll a prayer roll for it. So you actually need to get a 3+, whereas before it auto-occurred. And now it just turns the scenery into deadly, whereas before it was on a 6. You took a mortal wound, whereas now it's deadly.
Now, does that change? Like, if a terrain feature has another thing, is it in addition to that other feature, or does it change it from whatever other feature it would be?
In addition to any other scenario.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So then the Grimwrath Berserker, he's awesome. He lost the leader battlefield profile ability. However, he's still a hero, so he can take relics. They nerfed his Unstoppable Berserker, which used to be essentially he had a 6-up Feel No Pain, and then every enemy unit within 3 inches gave him +1 to that roll. So I think he gets an 8 at one point. I had him with like a 2-up Feel No Pain that you just destroying everything. Now it's just add 1 to the roll for any enemy units within 3 inches. So the bonus. Yep.
I remember that because I had to get Lady Olander in there to like mortal wound him off because there was no other way to hurt him.
Yeah, he was pretty tanky. He's still tanky. 6 wounds, 4-up save, 4 attacks, 3 up 3 at -2 for 2 damage. Like we had mentioned a lot previously, he's most likely fighting twice, whether he's alive or dead. So he's pretty good. I like the Grimwrath. He's pretty awesome.
How many points are they?
He's 100. Only 100 points.
Jeez.
So yeah, I should
That's
say
a steal.
yeah, the Battlesmith went up to 140 from 120, and the Rune Master went up from 80 to 120. The Rune Sun also went up from 80 to 100, and the Rune Father stayed at 100.
So, yeah, and he always attacks twice because it's 2+. He's got 4 attacks, 3 and 3, Rend 2 damage.
Yep.
So without anything else, he's basically what? He's going to put out 10 damage? Like that's at -2? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah. And like I said, you can buff him up with a relic for monsters if you want him to go monster hunting. You can you can't give him the command trait anymore. That used to be a fun trick, was giving him that command trait, make him your general to let him fight 2 times in the combat phase. And they changed the way it occurs. It used to be you had to roll less than the number of wounds that he inflicted. Now it's just on a 2-up. He gets to pile and fight again. So it's more reliable. It's more consistent damage. It used to be D3 damage, where now it's 2 damage. So a lot of little kind of minor tweaks to make him a little bit more consistent. And then if you look at throughout the book, though, it's all about making the speed of play quicker. There's a lot less rerolls, a lot less rolling for random damage, things like that. So it definitely helps speed the games up a lot, especially with the fact that I'm never running more than 50 models now, whereas before I was always running like 120. So
well, and I think the big general change is the army wide losing that 4+ shrug that they were all running around with.
Right.
Like, it makes me as your opponent not feel like, what the heck is going on? I can't do any damage. So I like that they added a wound to everything instead of having that, just for easy to play.
Yep. The Doomseeker, this guy changed a lot. So I think he's up to 100 points now. I think he was 80 before as well. Just double check here. Yeah, he's 100 points. Same thing as the Grimwrath, where he's a hero but not a leader. He was worthless before, but now I think he'd actually be good at, if you have the points. But it's 100 points for him and the Grimwrath. I take the Grimwrath every day. But he could be good as a good horde killer. So essentially what he's got is 3 attacks at 3s and 4s, no Rend, 1 damage. Another 3 attacks at 3s and 3s, -1 for 1 damage. At the start of the first battle round, you have to pick an enemy unit that he's sworn to destroy, and if he ever ends the combat, or if he's ever within 3 inches in a combat phase, at the end of the combat phase, at the end of the combat phase, he gets to pile in and fight again, essentially, against that 1 unit. And then, so if I was going against Nate, I'd probably pick his big unit of goals, stick him in there. So he's got 12 attacks essentially in the combat phase. However, what they really buffed him up with was that if he takes a single wound, he gets to add 1 to his damage characteristic. So then everything's going to 2 damage. If he takes 2 damage or more, then he adds 2 or more wounds. Then he adds 2 to his damage. Then he's got 6 attacks, 3 of which are no Rend, 3 with -1 Rend, all at 3 damage. Getting to fight twice. I mean, he would just be.
That's awesome. Now,
killer.
Can you hurt him at all?
No, I have no way of hurting him. I mean, well, yeah, I guess if I ran him through deadly terrain or something like that.
So you could light terrain on fire to try to hurt him, and then throw him in.
Yeah, if you light the terrain on fire, it's each model within 1 inch. It's a Fyreslayer unit.
Okay. Okay. All right. He's just running through the fire with his.
So you select your own pizza oven, set it on fire,
then run through it. Yeah.
Next up's the Rune Smiter. He didn't change at all. The only thing that changes his Runic Empowerment ability went from an auto pass essentially of giving a unit within 12 inches or 18 if he's got the Forge Key reroll wound rolls. It's now prayer, so again on a 3-up. So he still has his deep striking ability. They did change it though to where it would actually count as 2 drops unless you're running a battalion. So you actually have to put him into deep strike and then select another unit as another drop to put him in.
But he's the one that allows another unit to just pop up anywhere.
Yeah, outside of 9 inches. So if you run the Rune Smiter is needed for the Forge Brethren, so you could actually run him with a big blob of Auric Hearthguard, drop them together as a battalion in deep strike to reduce your drops, and then pop up outside 9 inches. If you're running Lofnir to give them +1 hit and wounds, then They would be hitting on 3s and 2s, -1 for 1 damage, 2 shots apiece. So you can probably pop them up, take out some support heroes or a big nasty monster or something like that.
I think that's a fantastic ability to have, to be able to pop up anywhere, give you the mobility.
All right, so we're on the last page here of War Scrolls, which is just our battle line units. Volkite Berserkers, biggest changes, I think everyone's pretty aware of it. They got an additional wound. They lost their Feel No Pain, that was based on unit size. Instead, that changed to a once per battle. If a model is slain, they have to pile in. So you just have to think about who you're taking and how you're going to activate the Volkites now to try maximizing them double fighting. So that's the biggest change. And they also made war picks now, instead of being 4s and 4s, they're now 3s and 4s. So a little bit more reliable.
So, but they have Rend 1, so.
They have Rend 1 damage. And they also, again, in the sake of speeding up gameplay, the Carl now just gets an extra attack instead of an extra damage, so you don't have to roll separately from him. And then the Horn of Grimnir no longer allows you to reroll a single die. It's just you have +1 to your charge rolls. So everything's about less dice rolling, more just flat buffs.
So, I really like that because, and I assume Sling Shields is usually the way to go with them. So they can do
good if you really want a unit that can just sit on objective, because then they get 4-up save if they didn't charge with all the other buffs.
And they can dish out mortals when they charge.
Yeah, you lose the +1 to your save, but it's nice to charge a frontline unit, throw your shields at a support unit behind. I honestly don't know if it's quite as worth it anymore, because you used to be doing that with units of 30. Now you're only doing it with a unit of 10. Maybe get 2 6s. Statistically, when you're doing that, so
well, but you could still run a unit of 30, right?
I mean, you could, right? 480 points, so
it's an option.
I ran a 510 point unit in my last game.
Listen, we have 30 dudes. That's 60 friggin' wounds now, and when you kill them, they fight back. I don't care. I don't care. That is a solid unit, and that's going to take a while to go through.
Yeah. You're just not going to fit much else on your list, but
and to be fair, realistically speaking, that sounds expensive, but it's essentially a 2-wound 4-up save model with hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s if you use the axes, or you can give them Rend 1. They're going to put out mortals, and they are exceedingly cheap for what you're getting.
I mean that's pretty good.
I'll run them in units of 20. To be honest, I think units of 20 is a good middle ground. If you're going to go in on Volkites, again, if they changed where it can command to be all 3 units, get to use Berserker Fury twice, I would absolutely run 60 Volkites, getting to use Berserker Fury twice as an additional battalion. That would be a steal.
Yeah, you have to take them in minimums of 10, but they're only 160 points.
Right.
Okay, just to make you feel better about these things. These guys
they're a great objective holder. I like running them in 10. Just sit them on an objective. They can hold it for a pretty good long time. If you need one that can dish out more damage, I would run the double hand axes. They get to actually roll all hit rolls. So they're 3s and 3s rolling all hit rolls. No Rend 1 damage. But again, you burn that Rend rune at the start of your turn. So then they're 3s re-rolling all hits at -1 for 1 damage. Which is pretty good.
But comparatively speaking, for people that are interested in this stuff, the reason these guys are compare them to a similar unit. They're almost a Blood Warrior. So 4-up save 2-wound guy that fights when he dies.
5-up save.
They have 4-up. They're 4-up. I mean, they're only a 4-up they're only a 5-up if you are shooting mortal wounds at somebody. So
right, or if you're running the double axes too, which I like to run usually when you have double axes, they're 5-ups. But yeah.
But still, I mean, break it down. It's a 2-wound 4-up save model. It's only 1 inch. They only have their movement 4. Blood Warriors are movement 5. It's basically nothing. They have better bravery than Blood Warriors. Blood Warriors hit on 3, wound on 4s, no Rend 1 damage. So they're better. They have better damage output than Blood Warriors. They have the runes that you can slap on them on the turn. They have a ranged attack in the throwing axe, and they're only 160 for 10 of them, where Blood Warriors are 200 for 10 of them. There's just strictly better Blood Warriors for cheaper. So, and I think Blood Warriors are fantastic.
Yeah, but if you kill 8 of them, you don't get a free bloodthirster.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean kill 8 blood warriors? Man, if I get a free bloodthirster every
8
time
units, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
8 units. Now, fair. I guess
You're putting your unit in a vacuum and having his unit with a bunch of buffs. You can't compare them that way.
No. That was all. There was no extra buffs there. That was just what Volkites do, and that's just what blood warriors do.
Any army that has summoning has a little bit of that extra cost baked into the unit cost. So I think any army that doesn't have summoning, you can't necessarily compare apples to apples because they have no other way, right?
Fine, so, you call it oranges.
Right.
I'm gonna bring up Liberators. We'll bring up Liberators. Liberators are
grossly overcosted for what they do.
Yeah,
I think Volkites are undercost there. So
nobody takes those things.
That's because they're garbage. If they were Volkites, then they would be worth it. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is Volkites are absolutely incredible for their cost, for what they do. They're amazing.
They are good. They're good. I generally am going to run at least probably 20 of them in a list. Just because while they are good, if you're running a Runefather as a general, he unlocks Hearthguard Berserkers as battle line. You might as well run Hearthguard Berserkers. Because comparatively, right? So they're 5 for 120. So if you want to compare 10 versus 10, 240. So for 80 more points, you can either run Broad Axes, which have a 2-inch range then instead of a 1-inch range. Still 3s and 3s, -1 for 2 damage, or Pole Axes, which I really like, which are still 2 attacks, 2-inch range, 3s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. However, every unmodified 6 is 2 mortal wounds, and they still got the 5-up save, 2 wounds, 1 better bravery at bravery 8, and you get a 6-up feel no pain. However, if they're within 10 inches of a hero, they get a 4-up feel no pain. For just 80 points. They are extremely points efficient. They basically, if you look at them pre-Battle Tomb compared to now, they almost quadrupled in efficiency and only went up 20 points, a quarter, a fifth of the points. So.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking Fyreslayers are definitely
Hearthguard are good,
amazing for their points cost. Yeah. Absolutely, and especially in comparison. So, like the same amount of wounds of Blood Reavers is only 20 points less than Volkites. And are freaking Blood Reavers. Like they don't do anything. So yeah, these are very, very amazing battle line units. Yeah.
Yeah, Hearthguard are good. So that's the unit everyone's running. Big blobs of 30, Thorn Lords of the Lodge, let them fight twice.
Yeah.
I'm honestly for my list for Spring Assault, I'm looking at probably running 20 with Pole Axes, 15 with Broad Axes, and then 2 units of Volkites for backfield objectives, and then a bunch of heroes on foot to support them. We'll give it a try. I guess we'll see how it goes against Nate on Thursday. But
yeah.
Okay. So is it time for us to tear your army apart? Is that
there's one more unit. We got Auric Hearthguard again. Okay. They got +3 inches to the range, which is a nice one from 15 to 18 inch shooting range. Still 2 attacks. Still 4s and 3s, -1 for 1 damage. I honestly would love Auric Hearthguard if they were 3s and 3s. I think that's just the one thing that they're missing. Because they're 3s and 3s in combat with no rend for 1 damage. They do get to do an extra 1 damage against monsters, which is nice. And then on a 4-up, or if the monster takes a wound on a 4-up, then they have their movement characteristic and subtract 1 from hit rolls. So they're just monster hunters. So Lookout Sir doesn't really affect them, but with 4s to hit, if you're trying to target any other support heroes, it becomes pretty worthless hitting on 5s. And then they're decent, though, if you want to protect your battlesmiths and your priests that are in the back, because they gain an ability to where enemy unit not on a Magnus or any hero not on a Magnus within 3 inches on a 4+, you pass the wound off to them. So they can be good to help keep them alive a little bit. But yeah, that is Fyreslayers.
Sweet. All right.
But the soft comments from Jared.
No. It's not I love the fact that they're making so many more armies that are able to compete. Because the previous Fyreslayers, I guess, were fun in a way, but you basically just jumped on objectives. You just jumped on objectives and hoped that no one would kill you.
Yep.
That's so. But now that they're making all these other options, there's all these things you can do that are going to make it more fun for you as the commander of them, and honestly more fun to play against because they're not so one-dimensional.
Right.
You don't know what to expect.
And that's what I was going to say too. Like the last game I had against Fyreslayers, I played against 90 naked babies, and it was just, can I kill 90 naked babies before the game ends? Like it wasn't an enjoyable game for either of us. It was kind of like dumb. So I'm glad that they're right.
So,
exactly.
To help us with the transition on how we would fight your army, why don't we summarize Fyreslayers here with what do you think are their best strengths and what do you think are their best weaknesses, and then we'll move in to the next part.
Right. And how are you looking at when you're creating a list? How are you looking to make a list? Like, what is what's going through your brain?
Oh my goodness, I've got probably like 30 lists on an Excel sheet right now because there's so much more that's viable. Like, I actually want to bring Magma Draw Snowers before you never wanted to bring them.
Right.
Hearthguard were good before. Volcates were good before. They're both great now. You actually want to bring a Rune Master now. You never wanted to. He was just a text for Lords of the Lodge. So it's tough. I think, strength-wise, if you're looking for a competitive scene, you're gonna face a big blob of Hearthguard Berserkers no matter what, if not two of them. It's just for the points, they're so efficient. You're almost, I think you might see a couple of Vostark Lodges for people who want an Alpha Strike, but I think for the majority, you're going to see Hermdar just because a unit of 20 to 30 Poleaxe or even Broadaxe Hearthguard Berserkers fighting twice. And I'd say a lot of people like the Broadaxes. I'm more partial to the Poleaxes because of things like Night Haunt and things that reduce Rend by 1. The mortal wounds that they're outputting, if you're running a unit of 20, like I'm probably going to run, that's 40 attacks with a 2-inch range. So they're all probably most likely hitting 3s and 3s, with 6s being 2 mortal wounds apiece, fighting twice. So that's 80 attacks. So that's going to be 30 mortal wounds or something like that. They can just eat whatever they want to get through.
Yeah, they're going to hit like a truck.
Right. And the thing is, with the 5-up save, with the 4 Fiona Pain, stacking at least 1 or 2, if not 3+1 to saves on them, you just can't fight through it. I mean, nobody can. Even a unit of 15-20 are really hard to fight through.
Well, I wouldn't say nobody can. But
40 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I mean, if you get some lucky rolling with Scarbrand, and
hey, no, I'm not even. There are options out here, and I think it's something to be addressed. They're only going to have that level of durability if they have hero support. That's where they get it from. So if you can kill their heroes, they are nothing, really.
Exactly. So that's what I was getting to for a week. Like, if you find yourself against that list, honestly, just try to tie them up for as much as you can with just cheap, worthless units. I mean, every army in AOS is pretty much hero-based, but Fyreslayers are extremely hero-focused. I mean, there's 3 units and then 10 heroes or something like that. So, I mean, you kill the heroes, you lose their prayers, you lose any of their pluses to saves, you lose that ability to fight twice. There's so many things. Basically, kill the heroes, and it's a 4-inch move. They're very slow. Even Vostark is fast on the first turn, if that's what you're going up against. But then after that, they're all 4-inch base move. They're not getting anywhere. So if you can just tie them up somewhere. Against Nate's Blisterkin, actually, it was very tough because we're playing the Battle for the Pass. And I didn't bring any Rune Smiters on foot, and which kind of gets you that mobility by deep striking. And 4-inch move just sucks.
And the nature of the army is you want to have this giant unkillable blob that murders everything, and they have to stay together. That while that's super strong, it's also a detriment.
Weakness.
It's just a big castle that you try to avoid. There was a really good battle report that I just watched. I think it was Mini Wargaming just put it out. It was a lower point game, but that weakness was shown pretty quick. The guy ran 15 Hearthguard, charged him right into Blades of Corn, killed a lot of the Blades of Corn, but because they were so focused on just attacking the center and killing everything, because that's what the Fyreslayers need to do, they were just kind of able to outskirt and go grab the objectives in your territory and burn them. And there's
Mhm.
you don't have the movement to get back there.
Yep.
So
Yeah, well, to me, just from having the experience of playing against them on Thursday, or what, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. They feel like they're kind of a surge army. Like they have like that 1 or 2 turns where they're suddenly really, really good, and then if you can weather that, then you can kind of start to whittle them away. Because you have that turn where you've got the ridiculous like armor save, and then you got the other turn where you've got the ridiculous rend that's cutting through your armor. So I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot of tactics there of from either side. You have to pick the right turns to use those abilities, and I have to try and think about that and figure out, well, you've already used this, or I should back off while you waste this turn. And there's a couple of like really interesting tactical choices involved there.
mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to catch a lot of people out because they're not going to expect it.
It seems like they're susceptible to like tricks or like baiting to get them to get away from their, oh, there's this objective over here. Play the objectives, and then you split the army up. Or they get away from their heroes, they get away from their buffs that way. Or if you leave like for me, it would be like if I leave a unit out near an objective that's a weaker unit, that you're like, oh, I can just go over there and smash them. And you make the move, and you make that commitment. Like you said, it's hard to get back. So, like, as an opposing general, try to trick them, try to bait them away from their place of strength, I think is going to be a good tactic. That and shooting. I'm going to say shooting is going to tear them to pieces. So,
Which is why the firewall is going to be in every single one on my list. The firewall is crucial to have to keep those heroes alive. Yeah, I think what you're going to see a lot of is a lot of people just running that big Death Star of a Hearthguard blob supported by heroes, and then they're going to leave their Volkite kind of 10-man units that are pretty efficient, just hanging back on objectives, but they're going to have no hero support, in which case, against like when I was playing Nate, he's able to then, deep strike some goals in around me, and while Volkite's, killed a decent number of goals, they're still regenerating. They've got so many attacks that they just can't weather that storm when they're unsupported like that. Whereas before, pre-Battle Tomb, when you're running 30 Volkite Berserkers sitting on objective, as long as you had someone in range to cast Inspiring Presence if they needed it on them, they were good, right? You're not going to get through 30 of them pretty easily. Whereas now that you're pretty much forced to run 10 of them unless you're going to build specifically around Volkites. They're still pretty easy to deal with to be able to get them off an objective.
Cool. All right, so how do we deal with them?
Kill
what
the hero.
are you doing? Yeah, well, you're right. And my first thought was with my Stormcast list, I'm just going to go do shooty stuff like I have done. Super quick movement, teleporting around the board. I actually feel like it would be very strong. Shooty Stormcast, especially the way I'm running them, would be very strong against Fyreslayers. And almost to the annoyance level of you, I think. Just my goal would be turn 1, how many of your heroes can I kill? Yep. And then when you get near me, I have my screen wall of Gryphounds that are just going to be annoying because that's what they do. And then when you get near me, I'll just teleport somewhere else. And you're so slow that I might even just take a unit out of the game entirely by the teleporting away. So that's the route I would go with Stormcast. I also think aside from the shooting as Stormcast, how would I go about dealing with a straight up melee fight? I do believe Sequitors with the lantern on them are going to be a nightmare for Fyreslayers. I think a unit of 20 Sequitors could hold up your whole army for quite some time, especially if you don't get like the extended version of the Rend rune off. That is another option. A super durable unit with a good armor save is going to give them a problem, especially their battle line units.
Yeah, I think really the best thing to deal with the Sequitors there would be if you had the poleaxes. If you got 20 poleaxes versus 20 Sequitors, they'd have a chance because that'd be for each 6 to hit. I mean, that's a dead Sequitur, right?
For the mortals, right?
Yeah, and they get to ignore, and then you're not dealing with that reroll save that they get as well. So that'd really be your best chance. I mean, the broad axes with being -1/2 damage as well. If you had the Rend, even at the basic Rend rune off, they'd be -2. So you'd be what? Second was what, 3 up save? 4 up save?
Well, in that,
So it'd be -2 for 2 damage.
Well,
could help wipe them out. But
if you run the combo the way people have been, you have the Lord Castellan, and you either have him be the general with Staunch Defender, or you have another general with Staunch Defender. So they're 2 up, re-rolling everything.
yeah,
Which is that's brutal. And just a squad of 10 of them is almost impossible to kill. So that's a route for Stormcast I'm noticing. I'm also thinking Ross's list. I don't know if he's still here or if he's still awake, but Ross's list with the Dracos, I think would be terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, they did really well pre-battle to him against me. I mean, he ate through, I think it was probably 60, 70 Volkites out of my 90. He got through, I think I had 20 Arc Hearth cards. I mean, I barely had anything left against that list. So now that I don't have those Feel No Pains against all the damage he does, definitely going to hurt.
And the ability for them to, again, and this is not just
Teleport.
for the Dracos. Well, the teleport, yeah, and to get where you can't be. And then once they get in combat, that lightning breath just destroying your heroes is going to be. So anytime you have a unit like that that can get stuck in range and has the ability to pick off heroes behind the line, I think is going to be really strong against Fyreslayers.
Yep. And I mean, as a counter, that's why I feel like Hermdar is the best one to go with. Because, yeah, you could get potentially an Alpha Strike with Vostar, but Hermdar, being able to burn that command ability to fight first and hopefully eliminate those threats anytime you get into combat, and then fight a second time if you need to finish them off, is really, I think, their best chance of mitigating that. But, yeah, anything ranged that can pick off heroes is going to really just make the army crumble really quick.
Cool. Anybody else? I can keep going. I have a lot of ideas.
I want to go against John's list.
Oh, the Lady Lizards.
Yeah, I haven't played the new Lizard list.
It's the old Lizard list, but apparently it's become popular.
I haven't played it on forever. It's new in that this is the first thing that Lizard been out in a couple months.
Yeah. Honestly, I would just avoid you. Just sort of set up the cap. So I'm running Thunderquake. Was running it before it was popular.
It's true. It's true.
So I would just set up the castle and just out summon you and just out objective you. That would be the goal. Would just be to sit in my castle and just run skinks all over the place and know that you can't do anything about it. Because you're not. I don't really see how you're stopping that with the list.
Yeah, it's not really any good counter because if I specifically built a list to counter yours, the one thing that I would think would be run Rune Smiter with a bunch of Auric Hearthguard, but then you're just gonna screen out with your 80 skinks or 60 skinks or whatever the heck it is. So there's no way I'm gonna get in range of your Slann or your Bestowed-on or anything like that where I'd really be able to do damage. I think honestly Vostar would be the best bet because that run and charge first turn could potentially give me the board control to get up, kill some of your chaff, and get to the big heroes and maybe block you out from being able to summon in some areas. But yeah, it'd be an interesting matchup because you got the Bestowed-on. I think you run it with the shooty Bestowed-on too. So that's
two of them
hitting the heroes. So yeah, and those guys are freaking tanks. I mean, they ignore all Rends. Plus they got to feel no pain. So.
Well, and the Engines of the Gods, Mortal Wound bombs would be bad for the heroes too.
Yeah. But I think the my other army, the trees, equally but opposite. I think they're in a really rough spot. I don't think they can do a lot to Fyreslayers. I think Fyreslayers would just sort of just truck them. They just sort of just run right at them and just run right through them. Honestly, I don't see a lot of ways I can sort of mitigate just strong, lots of bodies units.
Right. Yeah, I think they definitely will be better in combat. Especially, I always used to hate fighting your Kurnoth Hunters because Volkites couldn't get through them fast enough, and you just keep generating them. But I think now,
I think you can now.
I think now I've got a lot more tools to deal with them the Rune Master is even more useful against you now, being able to like give you mortal wounds on your wildwoods plus count it as deadly. Is a big hard counter, but yeah, I mean, I think you'd still have to play the mobility game. I think you'd have to just stay away and keep teleporting around and try to stay away and cap objectives that way.
Yeah, but you have a lot of ways to mitigate. One of the strengths of the Sylvaneth army was all the negatives to hit you get from trees or trampling or roots or all that shit. Yeah. But I think you have a lot of ways to mitigate that now. So I'm giving you the -1, but you're getting +1, on your side. So, it's an even fight. So here we are, and having a 2.0 codex is just going to bring you, you're bringing a stronger army at that point.
Oh, you only have a few more weeks left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next pre-order like this week or something like that.
So. Yeah, baby.
Crazy. I cannot keep up with this.
Honestly, I was thinking a lot of the same things that John said about the Sylvaneth goblins are going to have Moon Clan's going to have a lot of problems with Fyreslayers. A lot of problems.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that the goblins can bring, and I think a lot of armies can bring this to bear against the Fyreslayers, is this always strike first stuff, like Fanatics. That's going to be rough for Fyreslayers.
Yeah. Fanatic bombs, and I mean, even if you were going to run, honestly, Scragrat would be clutch in any goblin list, but he doesn't have a whole lot of use against Fyreslayers, except for maybe sniping heroes, because then he'd be he's 3s and 3s, so it'd be 4s and 3s if Lookout serves in effect. But I could see a lot of people who run the Mangler boss with Fight Another Day being really freaking good, because he could charging that Hearthguard Berserker blob, fight them, and then run away, and just makes them worthless. And with Lucky Run Hermdar, well, who cares if you've got this big blob of Hearthguard that can fight 2 times, and at the start of the combat phase, if you're getting charged by this guy, you can just run away. Especially if you give him like the Doppelganger Cloak or something like that, or the Ethereal Amulet if they're running broad axes or what have you. So,
and I still think this cheeky little gobos with their nets. So again, comboing the nets, comboing trolls, the river trolls or the hag, and Geminids, and the spider shaman to get. You could still do enough minuses to hit.
Yep.
To shut down Fyreslayers. And
right. I mean, threes to hit pretty much across the board. So once you get -1, -2 stacking up there, they're really going to start taking a hit. I think Itchy Nuisance will be huge against. I mean, you cast that every turn against the Hearthguard, and they pretty much.
Well, I was thinking even I mean, I haven't been playing them a lot lately, but I keep thinking about some of these things are actually making Night Haunt somewhat better now, because I mean, that game we played where I basically mobbed up your unit of 60 goblins and killed them in 1 turn because I just made them fight last. Well, it wasn't 1 turn, but it was that army. You have that ability to. They have their own Itchy Nuisance. If you have Lady Olander in there, she can make you -1 to hit and make me +1 to hit. So you can just throw your whole army in against a debuffed, big unit and take that unit out. So they have that ability to kind of target one thing and take it down.
Well, one thing I was thinking, Nate, is Night Haunt could be an army that instantly kill Fyreslayers. For instance, you got the Grimghast Reapers.
Ignoring the Rend is huge.
If you double turn with the Grimghast Reapers, you could hit the Auric line. And then it's your turn. Retreat, kill all the heroes.
Yeah,
there's no way they can stop it.
Oh yeah, not the Reapers, the Bladegeist Revenants.
Bladegeist Revenants,
the guys with the swords, the great sword guys, because they can retreat and then charge. So you can charge in, retreat through them, and then charge again. I mean, most likely the heroes are so close that you're not going to be able to do that very effectively, but. I mean, it's totally possible, especially because I usually take the relic that gives them +3 to their move. So they're moving 11 inches, and so you can move through the army and then charge back into it.
Yeah, having the fly, the speed.
Yeah.
That is, I think there's something to be said of, even a smaller squad of the Revenants could be terrifying in that angle. Because what I'm noticing about the Fyreslayers is, well, especially the way Mike has been saying he's going to be running them, and I don't mean to pick on Mike, but he's going hyper elite with his. So he doesn't really have that many bodies when you look at the list. Like when you really, he's got a ton of wounds, but these are all multi-wound guys now, so it's not really like, it's not a horde army anymore. Like, so they're not going to be able to screen off as well. They're not going to be able to defend backfield incursions the way they used to be able to. They're like Stormcast in that regards now.
Yeah, I think my list that I really want to test out is going to have 20. I think it's like 55 bodies plus heroes. So, which is still that's actually a lot for a lot of the lists. I mean, a lot of people are pretty much. No, it's probably about average. A lot of people are running probably about 50-ish right now. Some people are running just a big blob of 30 Hearthguard and then some support units. I'm splitting my units up a little bit more to give me a little bit more flexibility. I just don't think 30 Hearthguard is worth it for the discount. Because even with the 2-inch range, you're most likely never going to get all 30 into combat. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're definitely probably about 50% army from a model count perspective what they used to be.
Yeah.
They're kind of like an in-between horde and elite space right now, which it's nice. I like being able to not have to bring 100 plus models to a game, especially since I run gobos with at least 100 models at a time. But yeah, it's an interesting space. It's kind of it's challenging to make some lists outside of just Hearthguard Blob, which I think there's a lot of hard counters too. I think it's the obvious go-to, but I think a lot of people are going to start to build around it, just like they have with Gristlegore and King and things like that. There's plenty of counters to it that I don't think it's going to be the most ideal for winning tournaments going forward. So that's my.
That's what I was going to ask you, Mike. Is what are you doing against what's popular now? The Skaven, the FEC, and the Ideneth. Like, how are you creating armies to sort of think about dealing with them?
Those eels, man. Those eels are going to be.
Eels are
I
tough
forgot about them
because of their speed, right? So against eels, I mean, it's just get on objectives and sit there. Who cares if they have mobility if they've got to come to you anyway at that point? A list like Nate's is really tough because Gristlegore is pretty easy to build around for Fyreslayers because they have a lot of things that give extra damage against monsters. They got plenty of Rend. They've got ways of fighting first or fighting twice or fighting when they die. Nate's list, though, he hits you hard in the front and then using Blisterkin just flies a unit and teleports it around and gets in behind you.
Yep.
And having that, I don't have the bodies anymore to be able to have essentially a screen behind me to cover the whole board to protect all the heroes or protect a bunch of backfield objectives. So lists like that, I mean, it's tough to have the mobility.
Well, yeah, because it combines the teleportation and the summoning, because the summoning pops up behind you too. So yeah.
What else is big right now?
Skaven.
Skaven. Yeah, I haven't been Skaven yet with Slayers, only against Gobos. The good thing about that is I got plenty of multi-damage and Rend weapons that'll just eat through, just the Clan Rat chaff. The Storm Fiends will be rough because they'll be able to pick out heroes pretty well, especially since I don't have any Feel No Pains anymore. That said, I think the Obsidian icon definitely helps out a lot because even if he gets the Vortex off, I can just ignore on a 4-up and say, okay, cool, whatever. Yeah, I don't know, because, I mean, there's so many spells that they have, so much more wound output. I think if I'm running my list with a lot of Hearthguard Berserkers, that helps mitigate it some, since it's the one unit with the Feel No Pain.
I was going to say, if you just threw the 2 Berserker squads in.
That's pretty much what you got to do. You just charge through, type with what you can, and then let the Volkites sit on objectives.
They could, because the Skaven are either going to have to shoot your heroes to get rid of the Feel No Pain on the Berserkers, or shoot everything into the Berserkers, and they're probably not going to do as much damage as they thought they would. In which case, they're in a lot of trouble. So it creates that. It creates that they have to make a choice, and there is a real good chance that I think Fyreslayers could do really well versus Skaven. I think the Vorstag, the fast ones, are going to be the best bet versus Skaven because then you can get in there when you need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's like Vostarg is really good against some lists, and then other lists, like it's still good, but not the most ideal. And it really depends what you want to spend your CPs on, right? So with Vostarg not having that Battleshock immunity, Battleshock's less of an issue now that we're running a lot of small units, but giving up then that +1 to hit that you get with Vostar kind of sucks. So that's why I really like Hermdark, because you can just ignore essentially that entire phase of the game.
-1 to wound is great too.
Yeah. That plus, all those +1s to save and things like that. Rarely anything's getting through unless you're doing much of Mortal Wound spam. It is probably the biggest weakness, even though they got the additional wound. Mortal Wounds just go straight through on Volkites now, which really hurts them. So while they might fight again when they die and be able to chip off a few wounds of a Terrorgeist, you're only going up against a unit of 10, so you can wipe them out pretty easily now.
Don't underestimate that.
From a Mortal Wound spam perspective, if it's just a normal chaff unit, they're pretty durable with the 2 wounds. But against Skaven, that's probably my biggest worry, is just getting sniped from Mortal Wounds from range, in which case their fight again ability doesn't really matter anyway.
Skaven are rough. They're the roughest. Yeah.
Or like Nate's big blob of flyers shooting me, like can't do anything about that if it's hitting Volkites and whatnot. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we did a lot. Now we were gonna talk about tournament prep, but maybe we should save that for next time, because
it's been like 2.5 hours, so yeah, maybe.
2 people already died. So
yes.
John and Ross, but
I only played Death Armies. I'm already dead.
I guess I haven't. From my perspective as a Khorne player, I guess this would be the last thing, and then we can wrap it up. I am terrified of Fyreslayers. They do everything that I do, but better, at least for 1 turn. And I am scared of that. A direct fight between Khorne and Fyreslayers, I do feel that in most circumstances that the Fyreslayers are going to come out on top. They're just more reliable at the end of the day than my units are. So that bothers me. Though, with all that carnage, getting the Blood Tithe and being able to, I guess my game plan would be just to run in and kill everything, and then I'll summon and win.
Summon things behind you.
Right. That or there are a few units that I think would be excelling versus Fyreslayers. And for me, I would think Blood Crushers, or Skull Crushers, Mighty Skull Crushers, the mortal ones, against a slow army like Fyreslayers, where I can get the charge, especially a slow army that likes to have big blobs that have a huge front, that I can get all 9 of them to charge in on, or all 6 of them, and just do 6 D3 mortal wounds, 9 D3 mortal wounds, and then attack. That's the kind of stuff that I like as a unit versus them. And I think my favorite pick of unit versus Fyreslayers is going to be Skull Reapers. And I think if I was a Fyreslayer player, I'd be afraid of them. They are going to blender a big squad of Fyreslayers, even with the 4-up. They do so many attacks, and they are an interesting unit in that they can function on their own without support. So even a squad of 5 of them will be able to take the far flank all by themselves without any support. They're immune to battle shock. They have a bucket of attacks even without any of the Khorne buffs, and they just get better with them. So those 2 units, I think, would be my go-tos. My issue is that's not usually what's competitive. I'm usually looking towards the demons and the bloodthirsters and stuff. And I don't know if the bloodthirsters are going to be very good versus Fyreslayers. The shooting from the axes, your durability, even against Starbrand, I think you're going to not die. So, and then they'll just turn around and kill them, and that's a big problem. So, I'm worried about Fyreslayers as a Khorne player. I think they're going to be a tough fight, an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fyreslayers are in a good spot. I don't think they're going to be, meta defining. I think they can compete now for sure. I think they got a lot more tools, but there's still some glaring holes. their mobility. I mean, again, you can make some builds to make them fast, but mobility, really honest, their lack of bodies now, essentially, from what they used to be. They just have a lot less board presence.
Yeah.
Shooting, again, is a huge negative, but that's against most armies. So, I mean, they have no magic defense, really, outside of a couple relics. They don't have any magic that they can really do out in turn, but the prayers kind of help make up for that. So I think the prayers kind of help offset the hero phase kind of lacking that they have.
Yeah, I mean, because they do have all those abilities that your opponent can't interact with.
They have a lot of ways
just
to
happens.
buff their own units. Yeah, but they don't have a lot of ways from a spell perspective to dish out damage.
Damn it! Yeah.
But I think overall, like I said, I think they're competitive. I think they can compete with a lot of the top builds right now.
Yes.
But knowing that there's a lot of, like the 7th or 8th book already this year, knowing that so that's coming out, there's probably at least another half dozen books coming out this year at this pace. I think they're going to get probably, I would say, mid to upper mid tier once all the books start to get released. I think right now, just people don't know what they can do, and they're going to get caught off guard by the Hearthguard, and that's how you're going to win for right now. But then I think they'll get toned down a little bit. Just like Gristlegore, it's still really good, but people are starting to build for it. They know what to expect now. It's not catching people off surprise.
I agree. I would put them a little higher. I think they're a top tier currently.
I think right now, but I think give it a month or two once General's Handbook comes out, things like that. I think they're gonna really quickly kind of filter down the list and be probably more like a.
I think they're upper mid tier, even after the changes. Right now, I think the reason why I would put them top tier and the ability to win tournaments is simply because they are excellent versus Flesh Eater Courts and Skaven. They are one of the better armies versus them, in my opinion, even though I guess, and it does depend what you're running, obviously, in the list, but they can fight them. And if you can fight those guys, you have a real good shot.
But at the same time, from my experience, it's a fun army to play against, so I like it.
Well, you get to do it again on Thursday.
Yeah.
Great match. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, hey, if you stuck in there this long, you were a hero. And so this was a good talk. Thanks, Mike, for going over the stuff. I really enjoyed it. I personally know a lot more about the Fyreslayers now than I did before. So hopefully I don't get caught off guard as easily. Well, I probably will. But so this is good. And if you guys have any comments, if you want to, feel free to post. If you want to ask us questions, I'm happy to add stuff to the live stream. So if you're liking it, let us know. But that's it. That's we only have Nate, Mike, and myself left. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time at LWG.
All right.